Hello, fellow members of the human race. uh, Trying to find something to smile about today. I'm bringing a little bit of hard aviation, difficult aviation news, and that is, I think a couple of days ago, I'm going to say maybe 5 or 6 days ago, I said that the only twin, a heavy twin that I would fly in would be a King Air. I'm not so sure about that anymore, except that the accident that I'm going to tell you about now, to me, could have easily been avoided by a computer. Trying to think of a better way to say it. Automated, which is through computers and programs and programming system. Even though this airplane is very old, this accident should have been avoided. This is another one on final approach. They're like maybe half a mile or something like that from the numbers. So let me just give you an overview or just a summation. A King Air, a 1974 King Air, which I believe is got to be a piston-driven engines, reciprocating piston engines. I'll check on that. A King Air E90, 74 E90, crash on approach to Parkersburg, Mid-Ohio Airport. The airport's actually in West Virginia. It's just across the river from the Ohio River from Ohio. They were less than, I don't know, 20 seconds, 30 seconds away from touchdown, and they just fell out of the sky. Oh my. The irony of this is just incredible, because a King Air really is the safest and the best heavy twin in the sky. I mean, there could be bigger airplanes that airlines use. This is a private aircraft, right? At the most, you could get 10 people in there probably, and that'd be squeezing it tight. But it's got a fantastic reputation. Although, I will say this, I think over the last 12 to 18 months, there's been 3 to 4 really bad King Air crashes where everybody's killed. There were 2 people on board on this accident, and they were both killed. I'm going to put the link to the Blanco Lario Juan Brown's report in the comment section. No, you know what? I'll try to put it in the description section this time. See if I can work with that. But it'll be in one or the other. All right, so real quick, the conditions. Ceilings, remember we've done a few review of what ceilings are. The ceiling was around 2,100 feet. An airplane that just landed momentarily before reported that they broke out of the ceiling at 2,100 feet. That's plenty of altitude to manage this. However, aggravating circumstance, the ambient temperature is 34 degrees. So you know the principle of flight is all based on the differential of pressure between the top of the wing and the bottom of the wing. And that would go for the tail section too, the vertical and horizontal stabilizers. They are also airfoils, although I don't quite understand the stall characteristics of the vertical stabilizer. The horizontal I do. That's something that I have to look into also. But the main risk when it comes to stalling are the wings. So what can cause a stall? Well, at 34 degrees Fahrenheit, ambient temperature, and flaps will increase the speed of the air going over the top of the wing, which increases drag, obviously. But the thing that's missed here is that when the ambient air pressure goes down, so does the temperature. And so the ambient air temperature is 34 degrees. Well, guess what? And there's very humid conditions. And this is the principle for carburetor heat and normally aspirated and carbureted aspirated engines too, is that when the air goes into that carburetor, it goes through a venturi tube, and that reduces the air pressure, which turns it turns the fuel mixture into gas, all right? That's interesting. In the case of water, when the air temperature goes down like this, it turns to ice. It goes, it takes the water that's on the wings and the air pressure that's going over you know, over the wings, the camber, top of the wing decrease. The top of the wing is actually half a venturi tube, if you know what that is. That's the tube in a carburetor that changes the fuel mixture from liquid to gas. When that air pressure goes down, so does the temperature. Am I right about that? Yes, the pressure goes down, yes, and so does the temperature. Excuse me. So when the temperature goes down like that drastically, the water that's hanging around is going to turn to ice. If that water's on your wings, you're in trouble. It's one of the worst things that an airplane can encounter. I mean, easily the top three. You don't want to fly through ice, man. You don't. If there's icing conditions. Now, my guess on this accident is that the pilots just overlooked that. The fact that the ambient temperature, and for King Air, it's just incredible. I think the pilots overlooked that. Are they to blame? No, because there's too much to deal with when you're flying airplanes like this. This is a great report by Wyatt Brown, by the way. It'll show the panel where all the de-icing and anti-icing, you need to know the difference between de-icing and anti-icing controls are. Okay, in these conditions, there's my point, the point of making this presentation today. In these conditions, you know, the pilot's busy on getting on the RNAV beacon for staying on the glide slope, going into runway 21, which is the runway they were approaching in this case. He's got a lot going on, man. Flaps, airspeed, landing gear, you know, talking to the tower, talking to the co-pilot. Hey, it's 34 degrees out and it's humid. So what that means is, especially when your flaps are down and you're going into slow flight, that air pressure over the top of the wings is going to be dramatic. And I think ice got on these wings and they stalled at somewhere's around, I'm going to guess and say 800 feet, something like that. Can't be much more than that, maybe 700 feet. Well, guess what? There's not enough altitude to recover for King Air. So that's like, you know, for a smaller airplane, maybe, but not with ice in your wings and spins. I don't care if it's a regular spin or a flat spin. And I've talked at length about that. I'm going to say that any kind of a spin, just like the Baron, in the owner's manual of the Baron, it says, don't go into a spin with this airplane under any conditions, whether it's a check ride, whether you're out for a joyride, doesn't matter. Don't flirt with getting into a spin in this airplane, because after a quarter of a turn or half a turn, you're not getting out of it. That was true also for the F-4U Corsair from World War II. That plane killed a number of pilots, not only with landing gear problems, but with spin characteristics that were unrecoverable. So check out this video by Juan Brown. It's a real sad deal. And you know, you can hear these guys talking on ATC, and there's total confidence in the voice of the pilot of this King Air. But I think it's possible for anybody to overlook the fact that the temperature, the ambient temperature and levels of humidity could cause icing, especially when it's this close to the icing temperature, 34 degrees. That air that's going over the top of the wing, I don't want to call it an airfoil, goes way down in pressure, and in that case it goes way down in temperature and freezes any ice that's on either wing. Now they have all the icing mitigating options available to them on this plane. So a computer would just turn all them on. You know, ambient temperature, 34 degrees, very humid, slow flight, drag, a lot of decrease in air pressure around the body and the wings of the airplane. Just turn all the icing stuff, just turn them all on. But it's easy to overlook that when you got so much going on. And such a complicated airplane, I don't want to use the word complicated, it's a great airplane. It's just that there's some, in this situation, it's, to me, it's kind of easy to see that ice caused this accident, and very tragic, and a computer or a pre-programmed just an application program that, and if-then statements involved, like the most basic thing of programming. If atmospheric conditions are X and altitude is X and humidity is X, airspeed is X, flaps are X, you can start checking all these. You get 3/4 of the way through this checklist and you realize, I should just turn all the anti-icing and de-icing things on. Boop, 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 and the computer does it, and you don't have to think about it. These guys don't have to think about it either. Really sad. Really, really sad. Just really tragic. So, say a prayer for them today, for those two guys. And again, this is another accident that should have been avoided easily, in my opinion, could have been avoided. But there's just cockpit management can be overwhelming sometimes, and especially they're completely on instruments too. With a ceiling at around 2,000 feet, they were coming in from, I think they started tracking this guy at 4,000 feet. And the airspeed went down and up, and there's a little bit of erratic flying there. And that's icing. It all points to icing. Don't F with icing. It's just not worth it. I can go back and talk about a number that one crash in Buffalo. This is a long time ago, 20 years at least, maybe more. It was an airline flight. And they had a plane that was maybe, could handle, I think there were 30, 40, 50 people on the plane. It was one of those connecting flights from the hub to, Buffalo. And there was icing, there was stormy conditions, a lot of snow, a lot of wintry conditions. I think they had the anti-icing on, or I'm not sure. But, on final and slow flight, don't F with icing. If there's icing conditions at 2,000, 1,500 feet, you got to get out of there and go somewhere else. Have a cup of coffee, spend the night somewhere, meet the farmer's daughter, whatever. But you don't go in there in those kind of conditions. This one is inconspicuous. It's very subtle, the icing conditions, and especially being on complete instrument approach, I can understand overlooking that. And once they lost control, there is a picture of them crashing. I didn't get a good look at it. It's horrible to see. Anyway, I hope you guys have a safe day today, and please remember these two lost souls on this unfortunate crash in your thoughts and in your prayers. Live long and prosper. Happy landings.